Good afternoon. Here we are. We are at 12 o'clock or 12:30 on a Monday lunchtime, and it's my turn to talk to people. And this week, I'm talking to somebody that knows webinars inside and out. And if you want to get more sales and you want to get people to see you, then we need to have this conversation. So without any further hesitation, let me bring in the amazing Simone Vincenzi. Hello, Simone. How are you today?
I'm incredible, ready to rock and roll.
Good man. I love it when people say they're incredible. And so for those people that don't know who you are, do you want to introduce yourself and say hello?
Ciao. That's probably the best way to say
Yeah.
it. Being Italian, that's the best way to start. I guess a couple of things I think they're important to know about me. Number one is that I always loved bringing people together. From my background, starting in catering as any good Italian, moving to the UK. What do you do? Work in a restaurant, right? So I always loved bringing people together and serving them. Two, I always loved delivering presentations, and that's something that I became incredibly good at because it has been one of the most important skills that I've ever learned in my life. And number three is that I'm a basketball fanatic. So about 80% of my life is around basketball and the basketball court. So this gives you a kind of an overview of me as a user.
Wow. I really want to talk webinars with you, but oh my goodness, I didn't know we shared catering. So both of us are from the catering background, and so yeah. What's your speciality dish?
Actually, I'm on the floor.
You're on the floor.
Never worked a day in the kitchen. No way I'm gonna be there in that cubicle. Nah, man. On the floor, talking to people, entertaining them, making them have a good time. That has always been me.
And that makes absolute perfect sense. So you public speaker, doing all of that kind of stuff. And I must just give you a shout out. Your networking event that I come to of an evening is absolutely superb. Really, really lovely, friendly. So I hope that'll be one of the links as well. But yeah, it was superb. And it's all about being inclusive, and you include everybody. So thank you for that, Simone. Right. Okay. Public speaker, and now you do webinars. Why?
It was a necessity. As I mentioned, I always had a passion for presentations. So I started my first company, GTEx, when I was 23, and we started running small events, and we kept running events consistently every single week. It didn't matter if there was one person or 50 people or 100 people. We kept running them every single week. Over the years, then we built that company where we run more than 1,000 events in 5 years.
Wow.
I had a team of 14 people. We're making really good money. And that was about after 5 years of really running an event every single week and making no money for about 5 years. Then suddenly something clicked and the company grew. And then after another 5 years, then the humbling moment of COVID happened where we had to change everything.
Yes.
And now I'm there. I've got more than 200 clients that are working with us that have both in-person training, and I cannot afford all of them counseling. I have a team to pay. I've got my salary and so on. And that's where I said, okay, I knew I had to go all in on webinars because I knew that from the event background, what I've learned is that if you want people to spend money with you, they need to spend time with you first.
Yes.
And the more time they spend with you, the more likely they are to invest their money. And that's why I loved running events, because it was the best preview that I could ever deliver to then have someone say, oh, I'd love to work with you or not. The closest thing to that is webinars. So I knew the psychology of sales. The more time people spend with you, the more likely they are to spend money with you. So webinar was the next logical choice for me.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. Craig saying 1,000 events in 5 years, amazing. Yeah, it's absolutely mind blowing because I've done a couple of events, and oh my goodness gracious me, it's hard work. So, okay, COVID. We all remember what we did in COVID and what happened, and it was make or break for many businesses, many families and stuff like that. And there's a lot of sad stories and tragic stories. but yeah, you turned around and said, I cannot do events anymore. And even when we came out, you still had to like be like two meters apart from each other. I can't remember now. It was crazy, wasn't it? So you couldn't do an events, and what a nightmare. So we went all in on webinars. So basically you turned your event business to online in a little square. Yeah, okay. How did that work?
It was hard. It was hard. I worked like a dog. Like for anyone that like I had like my overheads just to keep my business open, they were at that time about 20,000 a month. So if I didn't bring 20,000 a month, I I like it would be big problems because
Yeah.
that level, like the savings, they go away very fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to make it work. I really had to make it work. And so I remember doing my first webinar because that was the only thing I could do at that time, or that I thought to do, and didn't make any sale. Then I did a second webinar, didn't make any sale. Then I did a third webinar, didn't make any sale. Actually, it took me 25 webinars. We were talking
Wow.
to make my first sale, and and some people, they might be like, oh wow, like you kept going for 25 webinars making no sales. And for me, the way I think is like, yeah, I did, because I just needed to become good at it. And like in the event space, I didn't make much money for the first 4 years. Only the fifth year I started making money. Why? Because I became that person that had the right skills to monetize that type of business model. And I knew there was a matter of time until I cracked the code with webinars. So I just had to do volume of that, and until it worked, and it became so good that it's like, oh, it converts every single time now.
Yeah. Okay. There's a lot there to unpack, Simone. First question is, why did you do the 25th webinar after you knew that 24 didn't work?
Because it was just a matter of time. As I said, like I knew I could have been 30. It could have been 40. Like if I know that there is something that works, then why not? Right? What's in between is just me and my skills.
Sure.
Is that my presentation wasn't good enough? The offer wasn't good enough. The marketing wasn't good enough. I wasn't able to get enough people on it. So there were all these things that I needed to fix in order for that to work. But I'm the kind of person that I will work until it works. If there is something that I believe in, that it makes sense, I will work until it works. I will not quit when it doesn't work. That's kind of who I am.
Yeah, no, I love that. That is fantastic. I've got a question coming in from Craig. Claire's saying that's very impressive, but Craig wants to know, how often did you run these webinars during COVID?
Once a week.
Every single week, a webinar.
Every single week, because that means that doing 25, it doesn't take me now 3 years.
Yeah.
Because I knew I had to become good. And if there is one thing that I've learned from the live event space, was that the more I do, the better I become very quick. And so actually I started, I think I became one of the biggest speakers in the UK in a matter of about 5 years compared to people that were in the industry for 20 years.
Yeah.
Why? Because if I look at the number of gigs that I did, what people did in 10 years, I did in 2.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, for anyone that wants to learn a great skill, like doing it in volume, you just become good much faster.
Yeah.
That's how my mindset is.
And this is like the 10,000 hour rule, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ed Sheeran is known for his live shows, but prior to him breaking out and being famous, he was doing open mics. So he was going around to different pubs and clubs, getting up, playing a few songs in front of a microphone, and he'd do one here, and then he'd be doing another one an hour or so later. And so again, he built up that 10,000 hour rule. Whereas, some people, if they're doing open mics, they might just do one a month. Well, it's going to take you an awful lot longer. So yeah, great.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So now, like to continue the answer of the question, now my schedule is once a month to my audience. So the reason why I was doing them so frequently is because I wanted to become good faster.
Yeah.
So that's why, I didn't have many people coming on, but every time there was one person or 2 people or 3 people, that was my opportunity to practice. Sometimes I would do a webinar with 0 people. And I came there with the idea of, let me test this part of the presentation. Let me test something different, because now it became like my playground where I could test and tweak. And so now I'm going on a schedule of, okay, monthly webinars to my audience, so then I can have more people attending.
Yeah, perfect. So what makes a good webinar?
Yeah, I gotta say the first one is don't be boring. You can start, like, your content can be really mediocre, and if you are a good presenter and you work on your presentation skills, you make people laugh, you tell like a good story, and you don't speak like this for 25 minutes to an hour. No, it kind of be a bit more entertaining. So look at the camera, eyes
Yeah.
at the camera, speed it up, slow it down, and that's why I think that the rehearsal of the presentation, the delivery of the presentation over and over again, makes you a better presenter. There's no better way to become a better presenter than presenting. That's number one. That's really number one. Don't be boring, and at the same time also give yourself the space and the grace to grow, because I see my first webinars or my first presentation I was delivering, I don't want to look at myself. It's so bad. That's why I wasn't selling. That's why it took me 25. I was bad. Like, I look on the screen. And so there is a balance between what makes a great webinar. Yes, become a great presenter, but also allow yourself the space to become that great presenter. So that's number one.
Yeah, perfect.
Number two
Yep.
is to understand that what you're delivering on a sales webinar is different from what you deliver on a normal training. I work with a lot of people that naturally they are great trainers, or they might be speakers, or they might deliver already training, whether it's in person or online. And then they say, oh, I have this great training. Let me put this into a webinar presentation so I can sell. But what makes someone buy is different from what makes someone do something.
Okay.
Or action something, right? If I want to be interested in buying a LinkedIn training, for example, I need to believe that LinkedIn is the best thing for my business. I need to believe that.
Yeah.
I need to believe that you are the right person to learn from. I need to believe that LinkedIn is good for me and I can do it. So ultimately, actually, your webinar presentation needs to answer the three questions. Are you the right person? Is this the right tool, LinkedIn in this case, if we're using this example? And is this the right tool for me? And so the entire presentation now is structured to answer these questions. And also is structured to sell something in particular. So what a lot of people do, they might have a training or a presentation that they already deliver because they might get compliments on that. It's like, oh, this training works. And then they take it and apply to the webinar, and they get compliments. And they're like, great job. I love it. No sales.
Yeah. Okay.
And compliments don't pay the bills.
No.
Right. And that's where the difference comes into place, to answer these three questions. Are you the right person? Is this the right tool? And is it the right tool for me?
Sure. So every webinar needs to have a call to action that results in sales.
Correct. Like, if I'm using, because that's what we distinguish, is it a training webinar or is it a sales webinar?
Yeah, sure.
If I go on a webinar and I create it with the goal of getting clients, if I don't get clients, mission failed.
Yes.
Right? Because that was the goal of the webinar. If I create a webinar where the goal is to train and people give me compliments on the training, mission accomplished.
Yeah.
And that's where the goal becomes really important. Why am I doing this webinar for? Is this to get clients, either to get direct sales or to book a call? If that's the goal, then the success of the webinar is really determined by how many people book the call, or how many people say, I love to book the call, but not the right time right now. It means that you hit something there. Or people that buy straight away, if you're offering something to buy straight away. But every webinar is different. Like, I think that people have the idea of, I need a webinar, needs to create this hard sale.
Mm-hmm.
Buy it right now and you get a washing
I've watched those.
Right? And this is not the only way. It's a way that works. It works. It absolutely works. And it works for the right personality.
Yeah.
But it's not the only way.
Okay. Okay. So, how long is the ideal webinar?
How long is a piece of string? That's I think that's the best. That's one of the biggest misconception, that a webinar needs to have a specific length.
Yeah.
I think that there is a rule if you are targeting corporate. Like, let's say that you're working with corporate, you don't want to do something longer than 45 minutes. Longer than
Right.
45 minutes, people will not be able to attend, in particular during working hours. So that's probably the only rule that I put in place.
Okay.
But I've done an hour webinar. My sweet spot is 90 minutes webinars, but I've done
Okay.
also 3.5 hours webinars.
Wow.
If I want to sell something in like 5,000 to 10,000, I cannot sell that straight away from an hour presentation.
Sure.
If I spend 3 hours with someone, 3.5, they are more likely to book a call to buy something already in the thousands or tens of thousands. But if I want to sell something below the 1,500 or below the 1,000, then actually a good 90 minutes is a good sweet spot for me.
Yeah. Okay. So it's all about building a relationship with people so that people start to know you, like you, and trust you. And 90 minutes is a great way to do that. That's the time that you and I would sit over dinner and have a good old chat and a glass of wine or something, isn't it? And we'd really get to know each other then, wouldn't we?
Exactly. The more time people spend with you, the more likely they are to spend money with you.
Sure.
And that's the rule of thumb. And if you think about on social media, any social media platform, how long does it take for someone to consume 90 minutes or 60 minutes of your content? Even
Yeah.
45 minutes of your content is hundreds of pieces of content if you're thinking about the microsecond of scrolling that we have. When you get someone in a private space, which is like a Zoom room or a webinar software that you might have a different one, then the conversation is different. Like, the people that are staying there, they have a higher level of interest. They're willing to dedicate their time. So the quality of leads that you get is much higher, just because of the level of intent, the level of interest. I'm willing to sit and schedule time to watch something. Like, can you see how much the intention needs to
Sure.
be for someone
Sure.
to do that? So already someone registering tells you something about that person. And that's, I think, the real power of webinar is the chance that you have to build a genuine relationship with your audience and to showcase what you can do for them.
No, brilliant. Okay, so I got an idea what we're going to do a webinar about. We know that it's going to be about 90 minutes because that's the sweet spot. Is there a format for the beginning, middle, and end? Is there a set way that works the best, Simone?
Yeah, and I think that I want to caveat this with, it's great to start with a framework, and then you create your own framework.
Okay.
Because ultimately, as I mentioned, your webinar is as good as you as the presenter presenting the webinar. And it's great to start with a formula or with a framework, because then it means that your brain has less things to think about. It's great to have a starting point, but also it's good to deviate from that, because then the more you will learn your presentation, the more, I'm going to be metaphysical here, the more you become one with the presentation. But that presentation becomes part of you,
Yeah,
becomes part
absolutely.
of who
No,
you
I,
are.
I I totally get that. Yeah, it
Right?
makes
So
an awful lot of sense.
there is a presentation I've delivered for 4.5 years. It always converts. It always gives me clients every single time I deliver it. And it deviates. If someone watches that and says, "Oh well, Simone, you gave me this framework," you see slightly different, but because that presentation has evolved. But ultimately, the elements are the same, and the elements are 5 elements. Actually, let's break it down in 3 elements. The first element is the introduction, then the content, and then the call to action. Let's look at these 3 elements. In the introduction, the goal of the introduction is to create a sense of importance and urgency. See, what people do, they wait for the call to action to say, this is important, this is why you need to buy right now. It's too late.
Yeah.
Your entire webinar helps someone make the buying decision. So the goal at the beginning is to get someone to understand, this is important. It's really important for you. This is important right now. You got to take action right now. And this is why you should listen to me. If you achieve those objectives, then you're ready to move to the second one. And the person now mind is open. They understand, okay, this is important. I need to absorb this information. I need to take this seriously. I need to listen to you because you are the best person to teach me this. And I think that, before coming on this call, that you mentioned something about webinars, about having this segment, and you can go there where people talk about themselves, right? Go ahead, and I think you were brilliant saying that.
So we were just chatting beforehand. We've got this green room, so if you're listening, but before we start, we have a little natter. And I was just saying I love webinars, but I also hate webinars, because what happens is you get someone come on and the webinar's an hour long, and the first 15 minutes is all about how brilliant the presenter is, and the last 15 minutes is all about how you're going to buy this offer. So it's only got 30 minutes of content, but some presenters are just like so dry, and they're just reading from the slides. You can actually see their eyes, can't you, Simone? They're reading the text as they do it, and yeah, you're sort of like, oh my goodness. And but you know that what they've got is good,
Yeah,
because you've seen them elsewhere. But oh my goodness, so yeah, it is hard. So what's your answer to fix that?
So as I mentioned on the first time, like, if this is your starting point, that's okay. Everyone can start by reading some stuff, and as long as you improve, as long as you make it a goal to improve. But the thing about is important for you to position yourself, because some people, they go the opposite ways. Like, I don't like that, so I'm not going to talk about myself at all. But if I need to buy from you, I need to understand who you are and why you're different.
Okay.
Right. So that's an important part. Now, what people do then, that I think the mistakes that a lot of people make, is now they put this collage of stories, and they put this collage of accolades. I won these awards. I've been featured on these publications. I wrote for here. So, for example, there was a time where I was doing that. Like, I was an official contributor on Forbes, of Entrepreneur magazine. I did events with Gary Vaynerchuk. I did events with Les Brown, with Dr. John DeMartini, Frank Kern. Like, I've done a lot of like these big seminars and so on. And then I remember someone that was teaching me storytelling. And they gave me a really important concept that stays with you in my training even to these days, which is you have one story to share in that moment. And that story is the story that creates a connection between you, the audience, and the topic that you're teaching. That's the only story that needs to be there. Because now that story makes sense. Is a story that makes me connect with you as the audience, like, hey, I understand you. Because if someone feels understood, then they're more likely also to buy, and also they're more likely to trust you. But then also it needs to connect with the topic. This is how I'm connected with the topic, and this is how I can connect you with the topic. And it's not going to take more than 4 minutes, 3-4 minutes to tell a good story like that. Of course, you can take a bit longer if you want to, but that's a story already that can position you there. And then what I found is that instead of having this huge piece of credibility, here's what I've done, here's all the case studies, and having that block, is much nicer to spread it across the content. So I will have a lot of piece of credibilities or a lot of micro stories, but instead of being in one chunk at the beginning is only the story that connects me, the audience, and the topic. That's the only story that is there. And then throughout, there are other stories about credibility, about clients' case studies, about personal moments that I had to go through, as long as they make sense through the presentation.
Yeah.
I'm always thinking about, what am I saying here? What is the impact that makes in the listener or the viewer? Where is the connection? Because that's how you know that you have a story where people don't roll their eyes, but actually makes sense. They want to lean in, they want to learn more, and that story is the right story.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's really got me thinking, because I do not do any of that at the beginning of my webinars, because I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I've watched presentations where they've had 10 slides of how brilliant they are, and he's like, oh my goodness, just tell us how to do this, please. So yeah, thank you. You've just given me permission, so thanks. I like that.
You're welcome.
So we've got the start off, and now the content. How do we wrap the content up? What's the best way to present all of that, Simone?
So the best piece of advice that I can give is that when you create your content, remember, this is content that is designed to move someone towards a sale.
Yeah.
So it's not the content that you want to talk about. Of course, it's content that you want to talk about, but it's not What do I? You don't wake up and say, okay, this is what I want to share with my audience today. Now you walk backwards and you say, this is the offer that I want to make. What's in the way for someone purchasing the offer? What are all the objections that they have? What are all the things that they need to learn and understand, so then they can take this seriously and buy? So then buying is the natural, not logical next step. And so literally the content of the presentation is making a list of all the objections that your clients have, or that your potential clients have, all the things that they ask you, hey, how do I do that? Or, but what if I'm not ready for this? What if I've not been in business for long? What if all this what if that gets them to stop buying? These are actually the real content of the presentation, because it's content that will do two things. One, it will be incredibly valuable because it will be full of aha moments. It answers all the questions that often your ideal clients don't ask out loud, but their answers like, oh wow, like you got there before me.
Mm-hmm.
And then also positions the sale. So I'll give you an example. One of the biggest thing that I sell webinars training on how to do this thing. And one of the biggest thing that I had from people was, but I don't have a great offer, or I don't have an offer to sell. And I didn't even know people were not buying my webinar offer, because the problem was, I don't think my offer is good enough. So let me work on this first and then I'll come back to you. And I remember someone writing in the chat and say, what if I don't have an offer? Would it work for me? Or let me come back to you later, or something like this. And I clocked it. I said, this now needs to become a chunk in my presentation. So then I added an entire element of my presentation about what are the best offers to sell on a webinar. And then in my offer, in my training, I also added a bonus session on creating an offer. My sales quadrupled from that single webinar. Wow. Just by adding a 5-minute segment on what offers to sell, and by adding a bonus that will address that objection. And so if you're thinking about creating an incredible presentation that moves the sale and gives people value, is to look at what are all the reasons why people will not buy, and create your presentation around that, which now the call to action is just the final tip. It's like, hey, this is, now you want it. Here's how it works.
No, that's brilliant. And the top tip there, Simone, is keeping an eye on the chat and understanding the questions that people are asking, because that makes all the difference, which is why you did 25 webinars before you made a sale, and you've learned all of this, and now you package it up and you help people. This has been an incredible masterclass. I'm just looking at the time. It has gone so quickly. So then we've got the offer at the end.
Yes.
So how, we don't spend 15 minutes of an hour-long presentation doing the offer, do we?
Yes, of course I do.
Oh, really? Okay, interesting.
And if it is 90 minutes, I spend half an hour.
Wow. Okay.
And the reason, this is the third reason why webinars don't convert. So the first one, they don't position well at the beginning. They don't create a sense of urgency. They don't select the right content, which is handling the objections. And the third one, just people, they rush their call to action too much. And I think because people have been through webinars where they had a bad experience of, and they think to themselves, I don't want to sound like that. I don't want to be like that person. Right? Am I reading your mind, Ashley?
This is uncanny.
You see, I've done this. Like I know the objections that people have. Like it's my work, right? That's what I mean. Like you're always 3 steps ahead. And the reality is that I believe two things. One, everyone has a unique presenting style. So the way you make the offer is the way you will naturally talk to a prospect one-to-one. And what people do, they do that call to action and they turn into someone that they are not. And that's why they think, I don't want to be like that. Instead of thinking, how do I sell? How do I normally make this call to action when I'm in a consultation with a client? What are the things that I say? What are the things that I don't say? And the other thing to understand is that now you're asking someone to make a buying decision in 5 minutes. I never met you, or maybe it's the first time I see you, Ashley. You did this presentation, and now I only have 5 minutes to make a decision. It's too short. So actually what you're doing, the reason why at least 15 minutes of sales is important, if not 30 minutes ideal, is because even 30 minutes is not a lot for someone to make a buying decision. Maybe for something that they were not even considering buying before.
Sure. Yeah.
And so what I want to create is enough space for someone to make that decision, to answer their question, to go through all the objections that people might have, or the frequently asked question, to repeat at least 3 times what's included. Because if I repeat once, this is what I've got on offer. The first time your brain is not even registering what's included. I know it because it's my offer. I know it like the palm of my hand, but you don't. It's the first time. So I need to repeat at least 2 or 3 times what's included, so then your brain understands what it's buying. And that's just a starting point. So that's why I'm a big fan of creating space for a great call to action. And the call to action is sacred. Pitch time is sacred time. So I'd rather take away some of my content to leave my time for selling, because that's the real reason why I'm doing the webinar.
Yeah.
It comes down to the goal. Why am I doing this webinar in the first place?
Yeah.
To get clients. So that part needs to be sacred. And one of the reasons why I wouldn't make any sales before was because I would rush the call to action. I would think, I don't want to sound like that. The moment I started actually doing a good call to action, take my time and my pace, so I'm not rushed, sales skyrocketed.
Genius. Absolute genius. I can't say anything else. But we've actually gone over. How do people get hold of you, please, Simone?
Best way is my website, which is gtex.org.uk. So gtex.org.uk. That's my website, or LinkedIn. Perfect. As we're here, right? Yeah, of course. Like, hey, most active platform, LinkedIn user. So awesome. Contact me, Simone Vincenzi. Probably you will not be able to spell it, so check the show notes, and Ashley will put a link.
Yeah, I'll definitely be putting all those links. Simone, you've been an absolute star. Before we say goodbye, I'm just going to give a quick shout out to Jamie, who's going to be with me next week, and we're talking about AI. And what this guy doesn't know about AI isn't worth talking about. So we're definitely looking forward to that. But this has been an absolute masterclass. It really has. Thank you, Simone. You are a superstar. Thank you for giving up your time and coming on the show and sharing all that with us. And yeah, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's been superb. And thank you to everybody for joining us on the show as well. Cheerio, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye now. Thank you so much for watching or listening to my show this week. I want to bring to you people that can help us running our business. I love having a chat. I'm very nosy, very curious, and I'd love to ask questions. So if you want to be a guest, or if you've got some ideas for guests, let me know. And if you want me to help you with your LinkedIn, get in touch, because I want to give you a voice. Now, that could just be using LinkedIn, but I do other things as well. So I can help you with a podcast, a live show, and all kinds of other amazing things. So get in touch. My name is Ashley Leeds. I'm the 15-minute guy, and you can find me on LinkedIn.